Okay, so today I wanted to make a video about my experience with, a menstrual, well, I guess my menstrual period, but I guess specifically menstrual, like, cramps, period. 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 Okay, so so I didn't know that there could be such thing as a period, a painless period, or like just very like mellow pain. Like, I didn't know that. I always growing up thought, okay, periods are painful, you get cramps, and that's just what I grew up experiencing, and kind of that's just what you heard from I never would have thought that I could experience periods that were not like crazy painful. So a little bit of history, I guess. So I got my period when I was 11 or 12, and I remember in the beginning it wasn't really painful. It takes a while, I guess, for your period to be like just kind of every month you kind of have an idea of when you're about to get it. But in the beginning it was kind of erratic because you're barely getting it. I guess your body's getting used to it or whatever. And so after that, it was pretty much, I got my period every month. I remember that, and I remember in the beginning it wasn't really that painful, or it didn't come really heavy. Like when I first got it, in like the first years. But then after that, I guess fast forwarding to like teenage, like 15, 16, I remember that my periods, like, they were like, the cramps would be painful. Like, I remember just laying in my bed in like either fetal position or like kind of, I remember what I naturally kind of wanted to do to make it feel better or whatever. I would kind of kneel close to the bed, and I would kind of just put my head down, but be kneeling on the floor, then putting my head on the bed, and then just kind of hunching over, or like kind of getting in all fours on the bed or on the ground, and just kind of rocking back and forth, and just like, you're at a certain point before it's like when it's getting a little bit painful, you can kind of distract yourself. But then once the painful, like the most painful part of your period happens, that's when it just, you can't really distract yourself from the pain. You just have to, like, I feel like I just had to focus and just like be in a trance and just kind of, so that was my experience. And I remember that around that time I was kind of just interested, like, just whenever I'm like tasting like flavors, and I would remember like tasting let's say like a really good watermelon fruit, and whatever the type of fruit, just tasting it and just trying to capture the flavor of that fruit, and just trying to, I felt like it's not like when you're looking at an image where it's right there, you're looking at it, okay, it's right there. But when you're thinking about something, like I was trying to capture the flavor of something, it was just always it was there momentarily, but then it was gone. It was kind of hard to really decipher. I don't know, like how to describe, but so I remember that I was trying to do that, and just kind of that concept. And then another thing too is that I remember, yeah, during like, around when I was like 18, 19, I remember like hearing this story about a woman that would experience painful. I mean, she had this condition where she would experience like an orgasm like every, I don't know, 5 minutes. Like it was just constantly, she was experiencing an orgasm. And so to her, you would see her and she was in pain, and like it was just constantly experiencing that, and it was like debilitating, it was painful. It was something that, because you would think, oh, okay, you're experiencing an orgasm, like multiple orgasms throughout the day, like 20, 30, like throughout the day. You would think, oh my god, that's amazing or whatever, right? You would think it would be like a good thing, but no, to her it was like a painful thing. She couldn't have a job, she couldn't do anything, like she was just constantly, it affected her everyday life. And so like after this, I remember thinking like kind of, okay, so she's experiencing as painful, and then when you experience, like somebody who doesn't have that condition experiences it, it's kind of like everything leading up to the orgasm is pleasurable. But then I remember trying to experiment and kind of see like that pinnacle, like the top part of like where the peak of the climax. And I remember concentrating and trying to see if that could be perceived as painful as it was for her, because she was experiencing it all the time, like that top peak part, not everything leading up to it, but like that top part. So I remember like focusing, and I remember that I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this, if you change the lens, sort of like, okay, yeah, I can see why this would be painful if you were experiencing it like constantly. And so that kind of made me think like, okay, like kind of the lines between pleasure and pain, and so I remember that a little bit after that, I had my wisdom teeth taken out. And during that time, like that, I got 2 of them taken out first, and then the other 2. But when I got them taken out the first time, the first 2, I remember they told me, oh, just go home, rest, don't walk around too much, don't be out in the sun, like just rest. And they had given me medication, so I was walking around. I remember I did everything that they told me not to do. And so I remember once I didn't take the medication in time, like the pain, to help you like not feel the pain. I didn't take it in time, so then whatever medication I was on, the anesthesia wore off from when I came back from the dentist. Then I didn't take the medication in time, so that it was like an overlap, and so I didn't feel the pain, but I didn't do that. And so once the anesthesia wore off, I felt the pain, like boom, and I basically was out in the sun, basically all those things that they told me not to do. And so I remember that it was like a period of like 3 days or so where it was so painful. It was just like throbbing, and then I think I also got like an infection in like my tonsil area, and then every time I would swallow it was like a stabbing pain, and because I had the wisdom teeth taken out, it was like constant like salivating because you have the gauze. And so because of that, I would want to swallow. Like your body would naturally want to swallow often. And to me, I was trying to hold off because every time it was horrible pain. I remember it was just really bad. Like I remember just feeling like that pain was never gonna end. It was just, I remember contemplating my life at that point. Like I'd rather just not exist than feel this pain. It was just very painful. I couldn't eat. I couldn't. Yeah. Anyways, so during that time, I remember thinking about the whole pain thing, and I was like, I remember like in those moments where it was so painful, I remember closing my eyes and like trying to focus on the pain and like really just because it was 3 days of this, so then I was like in a state of like I was delirious with pain. I was in my room by myself for those 3 days, just wouldn't come out, and so it was almost like a journey, I don't know. And so I was just focusing on the pain and trying to really just pinpoint like what is this pain and just focus on it and like understand it, like I don't know. And I felt like whenever I would do that, it would kind of calm down a little bit. It was weird. But then after this, all this kind of leading up to the whole period thing. So then I remember that after this, whenever I got my period again, and it was like that time, like a certain period of where it's like the most painful. I remember just, okay, let me try this, and I was like focusing on the pain and really just like in that trance, but instead of like wishing it away or like when is this gonna stop, like because it's like waves of pain. It's like a cramp, and then it goes away, and then it's another wave of cramps. And so during each wave of pain, I would try and focus on it and just like purely just focus, just like I was trying to do with like trying to taste the flavor of something and like really just try and narrow it down, like trying to like what is this flavor of this watermelon, like what is, like I don't know. And so I remember that during those times I was able to actually, like I felt the pain kind of lessen whenever I would really focus on it. And so I remember that was like the start of it. And so that's part of me, I guess, experiencing less painful periods later on, which is now. So then that's, so then another part is also, like your diet, like what you're eating. I remember that once I switched over to just implementing more fresh vegetables, I remember that I would think I was like maybe 18, 19 or so when I first started to do smoothies. I would do like half of vegetables, half fruit, and just in the morning always drinking that, and I would make it at home and putting ginger, turmeric, spinach, just changing it up but including that. And so once I started to do that, I remember that during that time I was trying to lose weight, and I remember just working out every day, and I just felt the same. But then once I stopped working out, I started drinking that smoothie and changing what I was eating, the weight just started to come off. And then that was kind of the start of, I feel like my periods becoming less painful. But I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, yeah, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I remember it was like I experienced a period that it was light, like not super heavy, and like I would experience the painful parts of the period like on the second day. And so I was waiting for that time to come, and it never came. And then I was like, wait, what was that? What was that? And just, like, I feel like something was wrong. And then the next period was painful. And then the next one painful. And then like, it was like, it was at that point, it was rare to have a painless period. It was like very mellow, not too crazy, but I would still experience a little bit, but not a lot. And so I would kind of, every time I would kind of feel like, okay, my period's about to come, I would stay away from like greasy foods, I guess, which we should already stay away from, like processed foods and all that. But I would particularly like do that before, like a week before my period, and days before my period, like stay away from greasy foods and processed foods and just do more like simple, fresh foods. And also taking, so now what I'm doing now is I do that, and then I also take cinnamon pills. Like whenever I drink something very sugary or eat something sugary, I drink cinnamon pills, which also help with pain for cramps. And so I'm taking that. I'm also taking there's this powder, this pink powder, I think it's by it's called moon cycle. Okay, let me go get it. I'm gonna go get it. Okay. One moon balance. So not sponsored. But okay, so I take that and some water, and then I also take cinnamon pills, just whenever cinnamon, and then I also take evening primrose oil at night before I go to sleep. I take one pill of that, and then I also take minerals, just because we need them. And then I'm also taking this Mary Ruth's Women Menstrual Support drops, and then this I sometimes take, but just because I bought I feel like they don't really help anymore. I mean, I just take them because I bought like several bottles of these, but even if I don't take this, I feel like I still don't have like painful periods, but I take them just to use it, this thing. But okay, so the other thing that I do also is I also take chamomile tea. I drink that, and I put a blue lotus. They sell dried blue lotus flowers, so I put a bag of the chamomile tea and then a dried blue lotus flower, and I drink that. And I use the blue lotus. Try to use it twice, so I'll do two. Like I'll use it once, and later on I'll take another tea and just keep reusing the flour for 2 cups. And then I also even eat the flour. Like at the end, like I'll just kind of pick and choose parts of it, and I just eat it. It's edible. Like every part of the flour is edible. So I do that. Let's see. Yeah, those are like the main things I feel like. So I don't know exactly which of those things helps the most, or if it's a combination of those things, but I feel like the main thing that has helped me is the primrose oil that I take at night. I take it all the time. I try to take it all the time. But let's say I forget to take it, I try and make it more of a habit, especially before my period and during my period. And then the cinnamon pills also I feel like really have helped. And then also I drink like pomegranate juice. They sell like these big bottles of pomegranate juice. I'll drink some of that. And the powder, the moon balance, that I feel like also helps because it has beets and other stuff that's supposed to help with like just your iron levels, and because you're losing so much blood, you're losing blood, and that's why I also try and drink minerals and vitamins during that time. So now I'm in a place where I feel like it's rare for me to experience a painful period, like painful cramps. Like when I get my period, it's kind of slow. Like let's say I get it in the morning or in the afternoon, like it's kind of slow, but then towards the night, it kind of starts to pick up more, like a little bit more heavy. And then during the nighttime is usually when I'll have like the heaviest part of my period, or the most painful part of my period. And then now I feel like it's like a little bit of cramp, like to me it's like painless because it's so little compared to what I was experiencing before. So it's very little, and it's like maybe it lasts maybe 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours, and then it's pretty smooth after that. And then after that, maybe on like the 3rd or 4th day, I'll experience a little bit of like cramping, a little bit like also like ovulation cramps. I've experienced that, so maybe something similar to that, but very minimal. And then I've noticed that it's lighter now. It's lighter, like not as heavy, and it's now I'm kind of used to having these periods that are not like painful. So I never thought that this was a thing, that it could ever be a thing. And yeah, it is. Like, I feel like it's diet. I think it's a pretty big thing. But then also, I think also like the way that you think about it too, like like me just kind of changing my perception of the pain. And I remember like kind of thinking like, okay, why are periods painful? Like yes, it's a cramping, when you are going through child labor. I've never experienced it, but it's basically the same thing, like your uterus is cramping up, and but like periods are like a very small fraction of the pain of actual child labor, but not child labor, childbirth, not birth. Not child labor, like back in the 40s or whatever. Okay, so yeah, so basically I think during just the fact that I was trying to really understand the pain and kind of get a spiritual reason, sort of like why the periods have to be painful, and I feel like part of it is because the pain makes you focus on it. You can't escape it. You can't. I've never been the one to take like medication for the pain on my periods. I would never. I don't think I've ever taken it. Not even maybe once. But yeah, I'm not the one to be taking to take like Advil or I don't know, other stuff. And so I think that that's kind of part of it. It kind of makes you focus on it and pay attention to it, and it's like this is your time every cycle to pay attention, like kind of ground yourself and like be with yourself, like in that pain, and like just it forces you to be there, like you can't escape it. And like I switched from hating it and like when is it gonna go away and all this and that to kind of understand it more and just okay, be in it. And there would be times where like I was like, okay, if the orgasm was painful to that lady because she was experiencing all the time, I was like, what if I take the pain and try and see if I can make it pleasurable. And I remember that when I would focus really hard, I remember that there was several times where I was able to do that, and so I would be like kind of okay, like actually seeing it as pleasurable, like those cramps, because it's similar a little bit to like the climax of an orgasm. It was weird, but so that's kind of my story. I tried to make this video less, but it's okay. So I don't know, let me know if any of you guys out there have experienced something similar. But yeah, so all these things that I take, like the cinnamon and all the stuff, you know, do your own research, see what, you know, I mean, yeah, do your own research, and then see if you're taking medication, you can't, you know, mix stuff, whatever. But for me, you know, I tried it out, and I feel like it's been working. Like, you know, see at the end of the day what works for you. But I just want to share this because to me, I didn't know that this was a thing to have menstrual period, like the whole menstruation cycle to not be this painful thing. Like, and now I'm able to experience something that's like pretty mellow. I still experience the period diarrhea. It's not crazy. It's not crazy. I feel like that's gotten better too. It's just like a little bit. And I feel like it's kind of during that time too, like the worst part of it, which now isn't even that bad, but it's a little bit. But even that, I feel like it's gotten better too. So yeah, I just wanted to share it to see if it helps anybody else out there. But yeah, I feel like it's very interesting, and you know, just kind of being more in tune with yourself and kind of if you can, if you have the luxury to take time for yourself during that time, at least one day, like the worst day of the period, to just kind of, you just relax, be with yourself, enjoy your own company, kind of. I feel like it's a time to reflect and, I don't know, just be with yourself, you know, not just be constantly distracted and being pulled in so many directions. But yeah, anyways, thank you for watching, and